Welcome back, my friend. Have you ever wondered what the difference is between your soul and your spirit? As someone like me, just starting out in the world of spirituality is something that I thought were one and the same. But as I've gotten more into channeling, connecting with my higher guides, and in general, just getting more into the space and creating these connections, I've realized the soul and the spirit are two very different things. Understanding this is going to help you become a better channeler, help you connect with spiritual guides easier, and connect with ideas when they're coming through your very soul or from another source. So, with that being said, let's get right into the video. Your soul. We hear it all the time, speak from your soul. What does that mean? Well, I've been reading a few books lately and I've realized that this soul is your very essence of your being. It is your the way you behave, the way you show up in the world. Of course, we have our ego as well, which is kind of like our lower self. But even the ego, it's outside of the self. It's outside of the soul and what makes you you. See, I was a paramedic before I got into all this. I was an EMT paramedic for almost a decade. And I have, needless to say, a very intimate relationship with death, dying, and, the essence of the soul. And you can actually feel when a patient is dying that the soul is leaving their body. There was a guy a long time ago who had actually wanted to experiment on what the soul is. What makes up the soul, and is it possible to weigh the soul? So what he would do is he'd find patients who were, on their deathbed, very close to dying, and he would actually weigh the patient before their death experience and after the patient had passed. And what he found by doing this with many patients is that the soul actually had a specific weight to it of 21 grams, which I thought was very interesting. The soul is the very essence of your being. And the reality of it is when someone dies, like that patient I was talking about, the soul leaves the body. And one of the most ultimate questions of the human experience is, where does the soul go after it leaves the human body? There are many explanations for this. I'm still honestly learning about this realm of where the soul goes, but some explanations I've heard range from, you know, the process of reincarnation, taking your soul from one place, moving into a neutral space, and then living purpose again through someone else's human experience. Now, I can relate to this explanation because I've done something called past life regression therapy, where it's almost like a meditative form of exercise, and you can go back into your past lives where you may have experiences or traumas tied to your soul. Many of your behaviors can even be explained through this, through going through other past lives, and it may explain why you get triggered by certain things or act the way you do in specific situations. Now, aside from the soul, I also talk about channeling, connecting with higher guides, and it's important to differentiate that your guides are not you. Your guides are not your soul. Your soul has lived through many different experiences. Now, I'm not going to talk about the soul harvester on the dark side of the moon, but it is important to acknowledge that the soul is within us. It is something that resides within this body. Souls choose to come here to learn. As a mentor has told me, we came here to forget who we are, to remember who we are. And the soul is here to experience life in a limited human perception. Now, we'll get to that in a second about the perception piece. But the soul is very much you, and it is the essence of you that has maybe lived through many other experiences before you even came here to live your life as you. Now, channeling higher guides, this is something I'm very interested in, something I'm just getting into as of a couple months ago. And I've definitely made contact with higher guides while I was meditating and intentionally going through a channeling process. But your higher guides are, it's important to differentiate because your higher guides are not you. They reside in other dimensions. They are other beings in other dimensions who have also maybe lived human lifetimes. These beings, higher dimensional beings, they vibrate at much higher levels than the human experience. And the way we reach out to them is by raising our level of vibration through multiple techniques like meditation, for example. And they actually have to go through the process of lowering their vibrations to the earth realm where they can actually make these sorts of connections. Your higher guides are most often looking out for your best interest and are have left a channel open for you, sort of like a telephone wire, and they're waiting for the next strong signal or strong connection coming from you to actually give you divine insights, inspiration, help you connect with your intuition better. You'll find that when your higher guides are channeling with you, a lot of their ideas will sound like things that you're already open to or things you're already experiencing or experienced in, except with a greater depth of wisdom because they're able to look at our reality, our dimension, much differently than we can look at it. It's kind of like looking at ants on a piece of paper. The ants are not aware that they're being observed, but you, as the observer, can observe their every action. And so the soul doesn't have the capability to do this. The soul doesn't have the perspective or insight to make those sorts of uh, connections. The soul is based off experience and dwelling within your vessel. And the higher guide can work together with your soul to bring you great inspiration, ideas, guide you through your life as the higher guides do, guide you towards your purpose and the reason why you're meant to be here. Now, I want to know what you think. Do you think there's a difference between the soul and your higher guides, like I explained? Have you had connections with your own soul? Have you done past life regressions? I want to know. Put that down in the comments below. Let's get a conversation started. And until next time, friends, I'll see you again. Peace.